Hello everyone, welcome to my seminar presentation, which is centered on the critical essay 7 Type of Ambiguity by William Empson. My presentation highlights in general the 7 type of ambiguity and stresses more on the 7 type, citing examples from Hopkins and Herbert's poems as referred in the essay by Empson. So without further delay, let's get started. Sir William Empson was an English literary critic and poet who is widely known for his immense influence on the 20th century literary criticism and for his rational metaphysical poetry. The Seventh Type of Ambiguity is an essential work by Empson. Seventh Type of Ambiguity by William Empson is a work of literary criticism first published in 1930. It was one of the most influential critical works of the 20th century and was a key foundation work in the formation of the new criticism. It is essentially a close examination of poetic texts. Empson's special contribution in this work was his suggestion that uncertainty or the overlap of meanings in the use of a word could be an enrichment of poetry rather than a fault, and his book abounds with examples. The following is a detailed description of the same. The word ambiguity means a single word having more than one indeterminate meaning. Empson's 7 types of ambiguity presents the different kinds of ambiguity or types of logical disorder in the order of increasing distance from simple statement and logical exposition. The ambiguities mentioned are: first one, metaphor, that is, when two things are said to be alike which have different properties. This concept is similar to that of metaphysical conceit. Now, the second one, two or more meanings are resolved into one. Empson considers this as using two different metaphors. Third, two ideas that are connected through context can be given in one word simultaneously, which is otherwise called as a pun. Fourth, two or more meanings that do not agree but combine to make a clear, complicated state of mind in the author. This could also be considered as the abstract thoughts. Fifth, when the author discovers his idea in the act of writing. Empson describes a simile that lies halfway between two statements made by the author. Sixth, when a statement says nothing and the readers are forced to invent a statement of their own, most likely in conflict with that of the author. This could also be taken as a concrete thought. Now finally, the seventh one, which I will be stressing further in my presentation, is that two words that within context are opposites that expose a fundamental division in the author's mind. Seventh type of ambiguity explains the division of the poet's mind that depicts two contrary ideas at the same time. In this critical work, to describe the seventh type of ambiguity, Empson cites examples from Hopkins and Herbert's individual poems. The following is a detailed analysis of the same. So, without further delay, let's get started. Gerard Manley Hopkins' The Wind Over to Christ the Lord conveys the indecision in the mind of the author about God and nature. The octave describes the flight of the bird, and in the sestet there are two parts. The first part is about the description of the bird, and the bird is compared with Christ. The next part of the sestet is about his memories and appreciation for Christ. There are contradictory ideas in the poem. The description of the bird's flight is extremely beautiful, which refers to nature, whereas the greatness of Jesus Christ, which is beyond description, refers to religion. There is a reference to the active physical beauty of the bird versus the poet's patient spiritual renunciation. In other words, contradictory ideas are the bird's life of action and the poet's decision to opt for the life of meditation. So the poet's action becomes inaction. He sacrifices his works by burning his works in fire when he becomes a Jesuit. The other contradictions in the poem are reference to the word buckles, which refers to get ready, that is, to become more spiritual, and to prevent action, that is, of writing poetry. The words used for both these actions are conflicting. There occurs an action of total surrender for the sake of the life of meditation, just like his master, Jesus Christ. There are multiple and simultaneously meanings in the poem. So, this was about Hopkins' poem. Now, let us see how Empson describes Herbert's poem. Empson interprets George Herbert's The Sacrifice as a poem having conflicts, though the business of this doctrinal poem is to state a generalized solution of them. The speaker in this poem is Jesus Christ. As interpreted by Empson, the speaker is speaking with pathetic simplicity and innocent surprise that people should treat him so, and a complete failure to understand the case against him. The stress of the main meaning is on the loving kindness of Jesus. This verse contains as strong and simple a double meaning. As per the evaluation of Empson in this verse, Christ's wish is that his own grief may never be exceeded among the humanity he pities. Empson gives this double meaning, though it may sound blasphemous. Empson quotes a few stanzas from George Herbert's doctrinal poem and brings out the conflicts and contradictions in the poem. He quotes specific examples from the poem to prove that the supreme act of sin is combined with the supreme act of virtue in the persons of Christ. The final contradiction presented is found in the lines: Lo, here I hand, charged with a world of sin, the greater world of the two, as a complete Christ, scapegoat and tragic hero, loved because hated, hated because godlike, freeing from torture because tortured, and torturing because merciful. While reading the sacrifice, one has to choose between Herbert's words and Christ's words because it juxtaposes both a human and a divine meaning. Christ's story asserts authority and refers to the worth of passion. Human language requires a thoughtful contemplation. For Herbert, every word in the poem becomes a reflection and thereby it becomes ambiguous. Hence, through the before mentioned poems, Empson appropriately explains the seventh type of ambiguity. So that's all for my presentation. Hope you all understood. Thank you for your kind attention.